Welcome to 10 Within, where we take you on a journey from grief to gratitude and everything in between. I'm Lonnie, your host, a girl mom, an entrepreneur, a fighter, and a daughter to the Almighty King. I'm here to bring real talk, heart-to-heart conversations, and the truth about what it takes to thrive through life's toughest moments. Whether we're laughing, crying, or everything in between, this podcast is your space to find hope, inspiration, and a little bit of joy. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get started on this journey together, because this comeback is personal. Hey everybody, welcome to 10 Within. Gosh, I am so excited to be here today, you guys, because I have a very special guest that I truly admire. I watch her online all the time, and I just respect this woman. And I reached out to her not that long ago because I just feel like there's a lot of value that she could share with the listeners out there. So I want to introduce my friend Danielle. Danielle is a wife. She is a mom. She is an online fitness coach, and she's actually a retired UTV champion driver. So that's actually how I met her. Back in the day when I was trying to be cool for about 5 hot seconds and race off-road, Danielle was just like leading the pack. So Danielle is an awesome friend. She lives in Utah, and I want to welcome her. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you, Lonnie.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to finally be doing this with you, and thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to tell a funny backstory. Danielle and I gosh, was that before Christmas, after Christmas? I think right after Christmas. We tried to record, and I send her the link. We're doing all the things. We're chit-chatting, and I cannot get the darn volume to work, you guys. Like, this is such my life, okay? So I send her the link. We're sitting here, and she's like, I can't hear you. I'm like, what the heck is going on? It was like 30 minutes, I think. We just tried to get volume to work. I was so frustrated. I'm like, I'm so sorry, girl. Like, I have never experienced this. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, you guys, I had my computer on mute. Like, that was it. Nothing technical, nothing major. Like, I literally just didn't push the mute button. I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I felt so embarrassed. I was like, I am so sorry, Danielle. I just wasted your time. And then you guys were having like a storm. So then your internet wasn't working. So we're like, okay, the podcast gods have spoken, and we're gonna have to reschedule. So I'm so glad that I have you on today. And honestly, I just kind of want to talk all things life. And one thing I have to say about Danielle, what I really love and respect about your channel is that you're just so real, right? Like, on the online fitness coaching that you do, I love watching you because you just are, I just want to go with like a real woman, right? Like, you just have like a real program that normal people can follow and do. As I love your videos because you're literally working out, and your, baby's like literally like sitting on top of you, laying next to you. I love when you like nail them in the head by accident, like just like the real stuff that happens in life. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Danielle.
Yeah, so we live in Utah, and I am definitely like an entrepreneur at heart. I want to work for myself. I don't like being, told what to do. So I have had a love for fitness since high school. So I got into coaching. It's something I was kind of scared to do, but we moved here, and I was like, you know what, new beginnings, like, we're just going to go for it. So I started my coaching business. My husband, Mike, and I also own a dumpster rental and junk company. So we do that here, and it's thankfully been thriving. Like, we are in like a little boom town here in Heber City, Utah. And then on top of that, we have our son. He just turned 2 at the end of September, and he is all boy. He's wild, he's crazy, he's like climbing on counters and but no, he's my little best friend. And
so let me ask you this, Danielle, when you started thinking of how to create a business, right? You wanted to create a business from home, I'm sure, so you could be with your baby and that entrepreneur spirit. How did you go about like finding what route you wanted to go in?
So like I said, I just think it's kind of always been in me. My dad is an entrepreneur. I mean, my mom has always like done things for herself as well. So it's just I kind of had that spirit like growing up, like I just want to be my own boss. And then I had really, really bad postpartum anxiety and depression after Gavin. It was something that I've never experienced in my life. I'm a very independent, strong, nothing can get me down. Like, feelings have them, but like move through them, right? So when I
Yeah.
had Gavin and I had this anxiety and depression, like I didn't really know how to get through it. Working out is something I turned to, and funny enough, one of Mike's best friends from growing up, he started an online coaching business. So I reached out to him, went through his entire program, trained with him, worked with him, and it kind of like ignited the spark in me, and it got me to get through, as much, I'm not totally through, but it got me to get through a lot more of the anxiety and depression. And just learning from him, I'm like, I can do this. Like, I want to help other women. I want to, be like the support system for them. So he's actually my mentor and still my coach, and we work together. So he's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Let's park on that for a minute. Let's talk more about that because I think, again, what I love about you, like I was saying in the beginning, is that you're so real and raw and open. I think postpartum depression is something that so many of us women suffer from. I know that I suffered from it after I had my second daughter. And honestly, I didn't even recognize what it was at the time. And so let me ask you, when you first had Gavin and you kind of, was it immediate where you kind of had those blues where you're just like, I should be so enjoying this time? Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not? Did you feel that way?
yeah, because I feel like it was immediately like in the hospital because he had jaundice, which is so common. But Mike and I, we knew nothing about babies, nothing about kids, so I didn't know what it was. And we had a nurse. She was new, and she basically scared the crap out of us. She was like, "Oh, he's in the red zone. This isn't good," and then just left. And so, like from that moment on, like I kind of just like it all just like hit, and so I think almost immediately I felt it, and I couldn't pinpoint it in the moment. It was just new parents trying to like figure everything out. But then like a couple weeks later, like you literally no one could ask me how I was doing because I would just break down like fully in tears and just be like crying my eyes out. Like I just want my baby to be good. Like I want to be okay, and like I couldn't like form the words or the emotions with it, and it just kind of like kept getting worse. And I don't want to say fortunately because he had a really hard time, but Mike has grown up with anxiety and like panic attacks and all of that. So he got through it, but he had already kind of like had a knowledge about it. So I think it was really helpful that like he was so like open to talking about it with me and like kind of like I think you're having anxiety, like I think you're like going through like depression a little bit because like it'd be like months later and I was still just not functioning. So I think that
Yeah.
was really helpful that he had a lot of insight with it already.
Did you ever have anxiety, depression, anything before you had Gavin, like ever in your life?
No,
No.
like I can compare the most anxiety I've ever had would be like sitting on like the starting line of a race,
Yeah.
like the day before, just like, but like anxious, that's like a good
Yeah.
anxiety. So,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I like the anticipation of it. But yeah, I mean, it does, anxiety and depression is such a real thing. And I was always curious on that because I feel like I've had anxiety for a very long time, but I haven't really suffered with depression per se. But when I had Chloe, I just remember just being like, just what is like wrong with me, right? And I never told anybody. I mean, still to this day, probably people listening to this podcast or like my friends and family probably had no idea because I never said anything because I was like, what is wrong with me? I felt like almost like so ashamed because I felt so, I don't even want to use the word disconnected, but maybe like even disconnected from my daughter. Like when I first had her, I was just like, I just felt in this really, it's like the most bizarre feeling I've ever experienced. I can't even like almost describe it or articulate it well enough. But I think talking about it and telling people, most importantly, that it is so common. So many women have these babies and then have, this postpartum. And a lot of it has to be the fact, and I'm not a doctor by any means, but I would assume that all of the hormones on our body are so messed up after having a baby. And it's just, there's just so much behind it, depending on also your delivery, how traumatic was that and how long was that? And then even, just the place that you're at in your life. I think that so many different things I'm sure can play in that. But even if it was, everything was perfect, right? You hear people say like, it was like the perfect pregnancy, perfect delivery, perfect, everything should have been perfect. And I still feel so down, is that it's normal. And I think normalizing it to women to say, hey, look, don't feel ashamed, talk about it. Because you're lucky you had a husband that had experienced it and probably recognized it in you, so he was able to speak up to you. But my husband had no idea about anxiety or depression. And so he was probably just like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you in such a grumpy mood? Or why are you so down, because he didn't know. And so I think truly, not being ashamed and finding a tribe to talk to, if it's a counselor or if it's friends or if it's family, and just knowing that you're not alone in this. Let's talk about what you did to try to, overcome. So you have your brand new baby, you bring him home, a few months goes by and you're still feeling this way. What do you do?
I mean, honestly, I feel like my path with it took a while, because I had him, and I could I just knew I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling myself. I was just like, so, like you said, it's really a weird feeling. Like, you don't know how to describe it. So the first thing that I did was, I just, every single day I got outside and I went on a walk with Gavin. I put him in the stroller. And I mean, there'd be days where I'd walk around the lake for like 2 hours straight, and just he'd be like sleeping, waking up, and just like, that was the first thing that I did. And then for me, it was hard, because then when he was 6 months old, we had made the decision that we were going to move to Texas. And so that was like a whole nother like kind of thing, because it was like, I never went away to college. I never had my own apartment. Like, I lived at home from, the same home that I was born in. And then, like, all of a sudden I'm going to move away from all of my family, everything. So when I got to Texas, I continued with like getting outside every day. And then I found, solace or comfort with Mike's friend Brad, who had his workout program. I was like, I think I can just do this. Like, I think I just need a goal. I need someone to like tell me what to do every day, and like tell me how to eat, because at that point, like, we're door dashing, I'm a cooker.
Oh, yeah.
I was not cooking anything. Like, I was just eating, processed food and like burgers and all this stuff, like continuously just like feeling bad. So I was like, I think something just clicked in me, and I don't really know how to explain it, but I was just like, I'm done. Like, I need to change this. And when finding that program, it was a 30 or 90-day program. And like, that kind of like jump started me into like finally like feeling more like myself. And I think that was when Gavin was maybe like 9 or 10 months old. So like at that point, like, he was kind of like sleeping better, more on a routine. So I was able to like work out on like the times that I wanted to. And thankfully, with our work schedule, like, Mike was home to help with him.
Nice.
But yeah, definitely like that is what jump started me, was, fresh air, getting outside, and then working out and like eating better. And then, Gavin, he's a little over 2 years old now, and I kind of finally just feel like I'm like getting back to like my normal self within like these last like 5 months or so. So it's like,
Okay.
I think that's also something to point out too, though, that it's not like everyone talks about like the comeback, like right after you get pregnant, or like jump back, you jump right back into it. I'm like, there is no jumping. Like, they're babies and they're infants, and like, I feel like it takes a couple years, and I think that's really important, especially from like other friends of mine who are mothers. Like, it's the same with them. Like, it took them a couple years to like kind of like get a routine, to like feel better. It takes that long for your hormones just to like calm down, like, so I think that's important too. Would, if I could go back, be like, you don't need to like be in such a rush. Social media, everything is like, they have their hair and makeup done in labor and delivery, and then they're like at the coffee shop the next day. I'm like, I didn't leave my house for like 3 weeks. Like, I was like, what right now,
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Well, I think that that's the thing too, is because especially on social media, you don't really ever hear the full story, right? You see the highlights, you do see the hair and makeup done and what people want to show you of their life. And I think the moms out there that aren't feeling good about themselves and are in this dark place, they're not posting online, right? They're not speaking up. They're trying to just survive throughout the day. So all we see is the moms that are thriving and doing great out there, which is great. I mean, there's, obviously it's not that we want them wish bad things on people, but I do believe that, more women need to speak up like, hey, look, like I relate with that, man. I went through it too. And man, it was not easy for me. And like you said, it was a while. And it's so funny is because I was 26 when I had my second daughter. And so, I don't even remember how long I was in that state, honestly. But I do remember it being a really difficult season of my life, probably for like 2 years. And, I never really I would never have diagnosed myself with postpartum depression then. Now looking back and like going through healing and like paying attention to like my feelings and my emotions and all that I've learned is I'm like, oh my gosh, like nobody told me, nobody, like I had nobody to talk to. Like I didn't even know that it was, not even that I didn't know it was a thing, because I'm sure I did, but I didn't like ever think that was the problem, right? I was just like, something is wrong with me, and I was too ashamed to even bring it up and to talk about it, and carried a lot of just emotions. Honestly, it was right about that time in my life when I really started on my healing journey, and I'm sure now it was because I just didn't feel like myself and I couldn't figure out what the heck was wrong. But I am a huge advocate too. I suffered from really bad anxiety growing up, right? When I was 13 years old, I had my very first panic attack. And there is nothing worse in the world than feeling anxious, especially that overwhelming sense of anxiety attack that comes over. There's one thing to have anxiety where it's just like that uncomfortable. And then there's like a panic attack. Have you ever had a panic attack before?
Yeah, multiple, and they're
Yeah.
not fun. It's no joke. They're very intense.
Oh my gosh, right? You're just like, what the heck? So what did you do when you were having a panic attack? What were your tools that you used to work through it? Do you find
Um,
anything that worked?
Funny enough, nature is my healing place. So, I would go outside and separate myself. Like, because what was hard for me, and I think it's part of me, like I'm so independent that like having someone in my face, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Like that would kind of make it worse for me. So
Hmm.
I would like give Mike the baby or, his mom and be like, I need to go sit outside. Like just leave me alone for like 10 minutes. And I would just like
Hmm.
go sit out in our backyard and just kind of like let it out and like, cry or hyperventilate or do whatever. But I would always just kind of like run to being outside and kind of
Hmm.
just like that was what helped me. And I mean, everybody's different. Like Mike is the opposite of me because whenever he's had a panic attack, he's like, I need you to be like holding my hand like in my face, where I am like,
Hmm.
I love you, but get away from me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's so funny how we all respond differently. I would say I'd probably be more like Mike. Like I didn't want to be alone, I guess, but
Uh,
I do think that being outside was a one for me too. I think that definitely helped. Also, I think well, I like what you said of just letting it out. I think a lot of times I've learned, especially through therapy, almost just recently, about the importance of truly like sound, right? Like sound healing, like actually yelling, screaming, crying, moaning, making really weird noises of emotion that I
yeah.
feel like we grow up and in society we're really always taught to like, really almost hold everything in, right? Like you're not allowed to throw a tantrum, like be composed, be put together. And that's really not overly serving us because our emotions have to be released. And if you just hold everything in all the time, it does just build up over time. So I tell people now, I have a program that I created called the Comeback. And one of the steps is to get loud. And that
Yeah.
is to, whenever you feel that overwhelm of life, right? Or the emotions of life or pain or whatever it is don't stuff it in. Like get somewhere where you can let it out. And I'm talking like scream, yell, cry, kick, just be a mess for a second. And I genuinely think that that almost like helps reset like your nervous system, right? Where you're just like, oh, okay, I feel so much better.
Well,
And so if you're out there and you experience anxiety or depression or any of those emotions, just holding it all in and just trying to be strong just know that you are not superwoman or superman. We are human beings, and we do have to break. And sometimes breaking is not a bad thing. It is actually a very restorative thing, and it can repair and it can heal and it can release all that tension that we carry with us for so long. So I like that you said that, because that's definitely a tool that I used. So let's jump into a little bit about your diet, nutrition, online training, coaching business. So you hired a coach yourself to get yourself through, and you just had such success with it. Is that kind of what brought you to wanting to start your own business, being an online coach? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I feel like I mentally more so had such a success with the program and physically, and I love being in the gym. I love working out. I love weightlifting. And that was like all his program was. And it was just like eating real food and, staying away from processed food and, don't drink alcohol, like, try to like stay away from caffeine. It's like all these things that are just so simple. And it's not like any like crazy fad dieting or anything or something, where you're going to drop, 15 pounds in a month, but then the second you go back to eating normal, like your body like just balloons back up. Like it's not sustainable. So I felt like with him, everything that we did, it was sustainable. It was eating real food. It was getting movement in every day. And it was, like reading a book and, just like exercising your mind as well. So I loved it. I did lose a lot of baby weight with him. And then, but again, like I said, mainly it was just like the mental aspect. And I love fitness. It's my go-to. When I'm stressed, luckily I can channel it into that. I will go for a run. I will go for a walk. I will go to the gym. That's kind of always how I've been growing up. And I just think it's like such a healthy tool. And it was what really helped me with, all of my things going on with depression and anxiety. So when we came to Utah, we have our son and I want to be around him. I don't want to have him in daycare. I don't want him to, be away from me. I want him to be with me, as much as possible. So it's like, what can I do? It's kind of like a scary moment because it's like I'm starting over again, but it was like, what can I do? What do I absolutely love to do? And I was like, well, I love working out. So let me call Brad. I had like a really good conversation with him. And I was just like, screw it. I'm going to do it. Like, I'm just going to jump into it. Like, if people think I'm crazy on Instagram, like, whatever, you're still watching.
Yep, exactly. There's always going to be people out there for sure that judge, that don't understand, that don't get it. But again, that's not their journey in life. It's your journey, and you have to follow your heart. You have to do what works for you, because it's not going to what works for somebody else. So I love that you just step out in faith, because it's hard, right? So let's talk about that, because it's hard to go on the computer, right? And like record yourself in the beginning, isn't it? So awkward.
It's very awkward, like even still, like talking to like the camera, being like, giving advice or doing things, like I still have the hardest time with that. So I don't have too many things of reels of that yet, but I'm like, it's something I need to lean more into, like the recipes and the working out. I'm like, I can do those, but I need to like talk more, because I love watching people who talk on social media. So it's like, that's what I want to portray. I just have to get there. But it is
totally.
It's a leap of faith.
It's a muscle, just like anything else, it's a muscle, and it starts off very small and weak and awkward, and then more and more you do it, you're like, oh, okay, it gets easier and easier and easier. The more reps you put in, the better it gets. And so, I feel the same way, where you're standing in front of there and you're just like, okay, I'm talking to no one. This is so awkward. My kids used to make fun of me all the time. They're like, Mom, you're so weird. I'm like, shut up. You don't get it. Now when you have teenagers, they're so judgy too. They're like, oh gosh, Mom, no. Oh God. I'm like, okay, will you guys stop? You're not helping at all. Can you just like encourage me? Come on. Yeah. But especially teenagers, man, they are brutally honest.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that you have a program, because I genuinely believe that, honestly, I am such a firm believer that everything starts with fitness. I genuinely believe that. Like if you're out there listening today, you guys, and you find yourself like in a dark spot, or you're just struggling, if it's postpartum depression or anxiety or just any type of just normal depression, right? If you're in a really low spot, it's amazing what moving your body does. And when you're depressed, and I'm sure you can understand this too, Danielle, is When you suffer from depression, you feel so tired. When you're fighting anxiety, you feel so exhausted. So when you are in that state, just know, you guys, that it is so normal to feel like I do not have the energy or the oomph to do it. It's where you have to truly build that mental toughness and to know that you can't go off of your feelings, right? You have to go off of what you want. If you are tired of feeling this way, I promise you this, and I'm sure Danielle can back me on this, that if you get out there and you just start with a walk, or you get your heart rate up, or you go to the gym and you just do some sort of cardio for 30 minutes, if you don't even know how to do weights, just go move your body for 30 minutes and watch how much more energy you're going to get. So it's like that very first few times you go, it's your body is going to fight against you in every way, shape, and form. They're going to say, no, it hurts, I'm achy, I'm pain, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, I'm weak. All of those feelings are anxiety and depression feelings. When you move your body and you show up at the gym and you just push through that mental game, you're going to realize that how much more energy and how much more strength and how good you feel. Do you agree with that, Danielle?
Oh, I agree 100%. Even so, for my clients, I schedule along with like a normal, workout. I make a non-negotiable 20 to 30 minute walk outside every day because I just feel like the mental aspect of it, the walk is for nothing other than for you to get like peace of mind, get outside and like kind of just mentally, be present and detach or feel whatever you're going through that day. But
Mm-hmm.
moving is just key. And like, I totally agree. Like, just starting with a walk is the best thing you can do. If you just say, okay, I'm going to walk every day this week, 20 minutes. Like, very easy. You can do that. You can sit on your phone for 20 minutes. You could go walk outside for 20 minutes. Like,
100% you can. But when you're really depressed and you're really down, you just have to know that that feeling is not going to go away unless you take action, right? It
yeah.
does take an inner knowing in your brain to say, hey, look, like, it's hard when you're so down and you have that dark cloud over your head and you're just suffering. Like, I know what that feeling feels like. And so, you have to find a reason why you want it. And I think that that is what is so important, is to really dig in deep and say, okay, you can sit there and yes, you can be that, woe is me and my life is so hard, and you can continue to spiral down that negative self-talk path where a lot of us do, especially in depression. You almost get like stuck in this cycle of like negative pattern thinking. Is You have to realize that our brain is a pattern, right? 80% of our life is on a pattern. We do it by subconscious. So you're walking through life subconsciously, and if you are on a negative subconscious pattern, 80% of your life is just going to be on repeat. You have to disrupt the pattern. And by doing that is just by being intentional. And I think that just like, again, simple thing is like, set it up in your day, and I don't care what it is, write it down and say, okay, today at 12 o'clock, I am walking outside for 30 minutes, regardless of how I feel, and I'm not going to allow myself to talk myself out of it. And if you do that for a certain amount of time, I would say 21 days it takes to create a new habit. If you did that for 21 days and you just did that one tiny step, you said, I'm going to overcome this depression and this mindset, and I'm going to break the pattern of talking myself out of it and learn to make yourself do it anyway. That one tiny step, I think, would be life-changing to people, because once you can overcome that step, then you add on another step. I genuinely believe success in life truly is one tiny step after another, moving in a direction, right? It's like you have to know what direction you're going, what you want, and take one baby step every single day to get there. And you'll wake up and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I've made so much progress. So I think when you have a fitness program, okay, let's talk about this, and you have people that come in that are suffering, what do you do, or what do you tell people to encourage them to get out of their mind? What is your like little secret sauce tool that you use to help people? Because the people listening, if you're that person that is not able to convince yourself right now, which we've all been there, right? We're easily to convince ourselves out of it. What do you tell your clients? How do you get them to do it anyway?
So the first thing that I tell my clients is, social media is a huge part of all of our lives now these days. And it is so easy to go on social media and see, someone who has the perfect life, and then it makes you feel more down. And then you see someone and they're out doing something, and then you feel more down. It kind of just if you're in that mindset of where you are depressed or anxious and you're seeing all these people out and about doing things, speaking from experience, it makes you
Hmm.
go farther down in the hole. So the first thing that I tell my clients is go through your social media and delete all the accounts that make you feel like anxious or depressed in any sort of way. If you're only following two people, go for it, like, or if you just kind of take a break from it,
Hmm.
that's kind of like my first step of telling them, like, get rid of all the things that make you feel anxious. If you notice that you're drinking coffee and it makes you feel anxious afterwards, it's kind of like I try and build a list and like talk to them. Okay, like, at what point in the day are you feeling this? Like, when do these feelings come in strong? And then we try and like eliminate from there. Eliminating screen time and things like that is super helpful. And again, I'm so big on nature and sunshine and getting outside. So until I have like their program set up, unfollow accounts and get outside and go for a walk every day. And I check on them. Hey, did you go for
Yeah.
your walk today? I saw you went on your walk. Like, great job. Like, I'm very involved and very like in their face about it and like texting them and voice memos and things like that. And for me, find that to be very helpful. So, and I think that that's super helpful because I'm like that like little voice in your head, like, let's go walk. Like, you can do this. Like, it's fine. And then when you do it, like, I'm rewarding you, so I feel that that is proving to be very helpful, especially with the clients that I have currently. Like, they are loving me being like on top of it, cheerleading them instead of just like, here's this program, have fun, I'll see you in 90 days. Like,
Of
that's
course.
not who I am. I am like, I will annoy you as much as you let me annoy you and be there for you as much. And I think that that's really helpful, especially if you're coming to me with anxiety and depression, because it's almost like you just need that little voice in your head every day. Like, you can do this, like, you got it and you did it and I'm proud of you.
Absolutely. I think it is so important, and this might be something out there too, is the importance of having a mentor or a coach in your life. Especially if you find yourself in a place that you just don't know how to get out of, right? A lot of times we get stuck and we just are stuck in like this unknown of just feeling sick and tired I always say.
Yeah.
But it's because you're stuck and you're like, I don't know how to go from here. That if you find somebody, just like you did exactly the right thing. As you found somebody, you're like, you reached out to Mike's friend and you said, look, like, I need your program. I need your guidance. I need you to step by step and tell me how to get through this part of my life.
Yeah.
And he was able to walk you through it, and now you're duplicating it and doing the same thing. I think that so many times in our lives that a lot of times we don't know how to move forward, and we think that we should have to do it alone, that we should know. Sometimes we're not going to know. And so the importance of having a coach and somebody that's been there and can relate with you, I think is such a gift, honestly, because you can understand other people and women and you say, look, like, I get you. And I think it feels so good to connect with people like that are on the same page, and that somebody that's been through it, and that somebody that's been able to overcome. And not saying that you still don't struggle, like we all do. That's called life, and emotions and feelings of ups and downs. But what I love about it is that it hasn't enabled you, right? You are truly overcoming, and you're still moving forward, and you're still living your life, and you're still putting your head down, and you are really working towards your dreams and your goals, regardless of how you feel. So people out there listening, I mean, if you just find yourself just stuck, like we've both been, Danielle's been stuck, I've been stuck, we know what that feeling is like. Find a coach, find a mentor, reach out to somebody that has what you want and let them walk you through those steps, because I don't believe that life is always meant to do alone. So I think it's such a gift of something that you're offering people out in the line. And I know that there's so many different, coaching groups out there, but again, if you're looking for somebody that's real and like raw and just, I think like totally, like you set up program, from what I can see just from watching you on the outside, is it's doable, right? I just think that any woman under the sun can start. Like, you don't have to be in this crazy fit shape. Like, you can literally start wherever you're at on your program. And I think that women are having so much success, because I watch your success stories all the time that you post. I mean, girls are killing it on your program, so you must be doing something right for sure. So if you're out there listening, Danielle definitely has a great program. You guys have to follow her, check it out. And if you're looking for a coach, I think that she can definitely help you in that area. And I think going back to too is just knowing that if you find yourself just down and out and depressed or anxious or just those feelings, that like us women sitting here today can completely relate with you because we have been you. And we definitely go through states, me too, still to the day, when you still have days when you're just feeling down. It's just not allowing yourself to stay there. And I think giving yourself the tools, and the tools are having the coaches, having the mentors, having the goals, having something that you're working towards, and having a big enough reason why that you're going to do it for you, and that it matters to you to do this, because those times come and you don't feel like doing it. If you have your reason why, and it's emotional enough for it to move you, I think that that's really helps people get themselves to the next level. So Danielle, why don't you share maybe 3 tips to somebody out there that's suffering, we'll kind of end with this, with depression, anxiety, postpartum depression, from going through what you've gone through. What are 3 tips that you could maybe suggest people do and take action today, maybe to start feeling better?
Tip number 1, get outside. Get fresh air, feel the sunshine on your face, even if you just go sit in the grass. Just touch nature, just get outside. Tip number 2, I would say, if you have someone offering to help you, accept the help. I think that it's a very something in us women, we're like, we can do this all, we can be super women, and I think that kind of just adds to the stress for us. So if you have a friend, a parent or someone that is wanting to come over and do your laundry or hold the baby, let them help you. And also I think tip number 3 would be just to talk about your feelings. If you wake up and you're feeling so anxious, just voice it to your partner, to whoever, a friend. Just be like, I just feel so anxious today, because I think just putting it out in the universe and acknowledging it is a really big, it's a big step, and then it kind of helps you to figure out and process, okay, I woke up anxious, these are X, Y, and Z things that I can do today to try and reverse how I'm feeling.
Absolutely. I think those are 3 amazing tips, honestly, because I think it does work. And I think, again, knowing that it's not super uncommon. And a lot of times too, I think that the most authentic relationships are truly always built on sometimes our struggles, that so many people don't feel comfortable talking about them because of feeling, embarrassed or ashamed, or that you're not normal. But I'm telling you, if you're out there listening and you're struggling and you actually voice it to somebody, I pretty much promise you that people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, I totally relate with that, right? Because we relate, I think, in the struggles almost more than we do in the wins, right? Yeah, it's great to see people winning, but we like to hear that other people are maybe in a rough spot too, right? It's not always about these highs, and that's what social media does, is it only paints a picture of the high. And we need to get back to the real too. Not that there aren't highs in life. We all have a ton of highs. And yes, of course we're going to post that. But who likes to post the crap? Nobody, right? Nobody wants to post the crap. So Instagram is a highlighted life. And if you find yourself, like you said, comparing yourself to that, start talking in real life to people and start watching how many people will relate to the struggle, and that not everybody is just perfect and happy living life. We all have our struggles and we're all going through stuff. And the more that we talk about it, I do think that the more that we just feel better. So I think that those are really, really good tips. Well, Danielle, where can people find you? Tell us your handles so people can follow you, and you maybe follow you and check out your program. Even if you don't hire Danielle as your coach, her page is so educational. I think you have great content. I think you just show just a lot of stuff on there that I think people could take a lot from. So tell us, where do we find you?
Thank you. So on Instagram, I'm _DannyGFit_, and then Facebook, it's Danielle Gardner, and TikTok, I am also on there as _DannyGFit_.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Danielle, for coming today. Honestly, I'm so glad that we were able to record this. And I know that we had a little technical error in the beginning, but honestly, I feel like today was the perfect day to have it out there. So whoever needs to hear this, I know is going to be the ones listening. And I really hope that you guys took a lot away. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Let me push